On this episode, we install a hoist in the shed. All right, the shed's as clean as I'm going to get it for now. Obviously, I just need this center section free because that's where the hoist is going to go. Gave the floor a vacuum. So, those of you that have ever tried to move anything with an engine crane, I'm sure you know that it's an absolute pain if you've got any small little bit of rubble, dirt build up, screw, anything. So, I'll start trying to unload it. No, I won't. I'm going to go to Bunnings and get some of that chalk string that the builders use. I'm going to mark out the floor first, the best that I can, and then I'll start unloading the hoist. As you can see, even the aircon on it's still hot. So I see people on YouTube whinging down south, but it's like, oh, it's 28 degrees in my shed. Oh no, my shed doesn't get below about 35, and that's even with the aircon on at any time. So, you know, Darwin things. I'll catch you again soon. Alright, back from Bunnings. Got a chalk line thingy bob. Got the measurements of the hoist, some chalk. So I'm basically going to try to put a straight line across from that beam to that beam. And then I'll measure it back from the roller door to make sure it's level with the roller door. And I'll use that as my square edge to work everything else off. I basically want to set the hoist right in the middle of this center bay here, because I figure then when it's got a car on it, I can still walk around it and hopefully do everything. So I'll do this chalk line and see how I go. Alright, I'm sure how well you can tell, but this is basically the center walkway between the platforms. Not sure if I said it, but the hoist I got is an AAQ 3-ton scissor lift. The reason I went for a scissor is just one, the concrete, and then two, eventually if I get motivated I'll sink it down into the ground, and then that way if I'm not using it, it won't be in the way. I thought about going for like a mini 2-poster, but I don't like the idea of having to walk around the big columns and everything else. So what I'm going to do is I've marked out this little black dot here. So this will be where the platform ends. There's another one down there. So I should be able to unload them and put them in place. I've got a 10mm difference from the roller door to the line and the roller door to the line. So I'll fix that up once it's in place. But that's a 900mm spacing between the runners. Hopefully the hoses get away with that. Their measurements say an 800, but most of the other scissor lift designers say 900. I wouldn't mind a bit extra just in case I got to get a gearbox out or anything. Due to the fact that my shed's not that high, I'm only probably going to get a car so far off the ground, you know. I'm still going to be working on the floor, but not on the floor, if that makes sense. So instead of being on my back, dragging myself along the concrete, I'll be able to make up a little creeper chair or something and use that instead. So I don't know, worst case scenario for servicing cars, or if I go back to motorsports, it'll speed things up. So you just gotta try it. I'll try to do some research. Some people say scissor lifts are good, some say they're bad, some say buy a full workshop and spend $1 million and build a flash shed, but obviously I can't do that, so we'll make this work. I'll start unloading the pieces now with the control box. That's going to go there, 15 amp power point right there, if I put my arm the right way. Control box will go there, and then that leaves a short run for the hoses and everything on the floor. I haven't finished insulating the shed. As you can see, one portal there. I haven't put coral on the walls, but the rest of the shed's all insulated and air conditioning. But as I said before, my shed doesn't get below sort of mid-30s unless it's raining, which it sounds like it's going to, so it'll be good. But I'll start unloading some stuff and I'll update you in a sec. All right, well here's the control box off the trailer with the engine crane. So obviously it'd be way easier with a forklift or a couple of people, but it felt pretty heavy on the trailer, but unsure if that's not just because it was in the middle of the trailer. I couldn't really get a good grab on it, but I'll open it up here and try and place it there. Got some hydraulic hoses. Yippee! I'm fat. Hang here for a sec. Oh, try to be careful. Still got claret. Jeez. Instructions. There it is. There's a control box. Not too bad. Supposedly it can go up. If you go down, it'll go down so far and then it'll lock in, and then you got to hold this button down to get it to go further down. But find that out later. I'll just double check these instructions now and make sure I've just marked everything out right to their designs on the website, and then we'll start getting the platforms in. All right. Platforms are in the shed. Weapon of choice is the engine crane. I do not recommend doing it yourself. I got these in last night. I've just been playing around today, just having a look at these hoses. This is the length that comes with it to go to the box, but they're set up that they want the box on this side of the shed, so I was originally going to swap it all around, but can't be bothered. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the box from there to here, and I've just got an extension cord to run to the 15 amp socket, so we'll see if it works. Now I'm just going to go through the hoses to try and connect them up. We do have a little bit of damage on one sleeve on one hose, so I might have to get it replaced. I might try and get it to operate first and at least get to like the first set of locks, and then maybe I can swap it out then. But yeah, they're lined up. I've got 900mm between them, which is what I want. I'll see if everything else that goes with it allows for it. We've got plenty of hose, so it should be right, but I'll have a mess around and move the box over to the other side and start mocking these hoses up and see how we go. All right, I filmed the whole bit, and I must accidentally press the record button when I'd finished. I mean, whilst I was going, so I didn't actually record anything. Anyway, control box is moved. Lines are run. As you can see, I've test fitted the cover just between the two ramps on this side. Now, this is a bit of a mess at the moment, but it is all hooked up. The only thing I found that might get you is there's a little air regulator inside the box, but they face the air fitting towards the back of the box, so you can't actually see, obviously, that you need to put air there. But anywhere there's a regulator, common sense sort of tells you that it needs air. So I unbolted that from the side of the box that way, pulled it out, and then put a normal Nitto air fitting on it. So that's a red line that runs down to the compressor now. So I'm just going to top it up with some fluid. It reckons it takes about 14 litres. I was lucky enough this hoist came with some fluid, so I'll chuck that in there now. There's Ruby, the old shop dog. Hey, Ruby. Hey. Think she's in trouble. But yeah, I'll top it up with some oil now. And then we go through the bleeding process, which seems to be the worst part of these things. So I'll give it a go. I'll put the oil in it, turn the camera back on so you can witness it doing something for the first time, hopefully without any leaks. Cheers. All right, filled up with oil. As you can see, I spilt some because I tried to use a cut down bottle instead of a funnel, so then I went to Bunnings. 15 litres of oil going through. So plugged into the extension cord. So let's see if this works. Off. Oh, that is on. Hey. Alright, so let's see what this does. Now, you've got to open it up. You've got to turn on with these open and go up and down 3 times, it reckons, with the limiting switches off, which I haven't plugged. I'm assuming that's them. I haven't plugged them in. So let's see what happens. Nope. Turns out the wires I didn't have plugged in were for the pump, so we'll try this again. We have liftoff, people. Not quite level, but apparently if you go up and down 2 or 3 times, it should sort itself out. No leaks so far. Happy days. So this is where the hydraulic valve's open. This is supposed to be bleeding any air back through the system. So I'm going to do it once more and then I'll be able to close the valves and they should level out. The only downside is this is supposed to let it go down, but it doesn't. You've got to press the second one, which then lets it beeper off the whole time. So that's going to be the first thing that gets disconnected. That's annoying. Alright, I spent some time going up and down about 52,000 times. You got to manually release these valves there and there, depending on which platform you want to go to let it raise a bit more, you know, to get them level. So I've now got it perfectly level. If I show you, just spin around here. I don't know if you can see that. Hold on, hold the phone. There you go. So it's lifting perfectly level. The only time it goes out of level is when you let it down to the first stage of drop. It slightly leans that way. But it's bugger all. It's not like a car's gonna fall off it or anything else. It's just, you know, the bubble moves just slightly. So that's about it for now. I'm going to put her down and just make sure it's all centered in the shed this way, and also make sure it's right lengthways. And then I'm going to bolt it into the ground. So you got to get these running so you can actually lift them up so you can put the dyno bolts in. So I'll do that. And the next time you see it, I'll bring the wife's car in because it's the only one that runs and it is small enough to fit in the shed. So I'll bring that in, put a Orion on here and see how it looks. We're gonna have to remove these 2 lights just because that's, you know, 100 mil of space. So I'll take them down, get them moved to the outside. And then I think that's about it. Eventually I'll move there's limit switches. Don't know if you can see them down there. I'll move the height limit switch just so I'm limited. I'll work out what car's going to be on here most. I know which car will probably be on here most. You haven't seen that yet, but I'll work out where that sits and then set the limit switch so when this hoist raises to release the locks, I've still got, you know, 50 mil or so to the ceiling, just so I don't put the car through the roof, or if I leave a ratchet or something on there, I'm not going to put it through. So anyway, I'll get this done and I'll check in with you once the Dynabolt's done. Cheers. All right, it's the next day. Hoist is Dynabolted down. Also got these little extension ramps. I'll get this right once. Got these extension ramps from Joel's Garage Gear. AAQ didn't sell them. That's just in case you want to put a car on here that's under 100 mil, because they're supposed to sit 110 mil. They sit sort of 114 or so. So that just gives the tyres something to sit up on, so you can put the rubber blocks under the sills. I'll put it up and show you that it's all Dynabolted down. Gave it a little bit of a tss over where I cut the Dynabolts down to size. And then, yeah, next thing's to get a car in. So I just recorded a whole rise sequence and stuff, and it turns out I pressed the button twice, so I didn't actually record it. Anyway, hoist is up. As you see, Dynabolts are all in. Just sprayed the top of them with a bit of black, just because I cut them off level with the base. Just a couple of them sat a bit proud and then hit on the bottom of this frame here. So they're all done. The extension ramps are Dynabolted in as well. You can leave them to remove them. I decided against it purely because when I tested it, I could still put the engine crane between them. So the only downside with the hoist is if I ever have to take an engine out, the car's going to face that way. But it all works. So next thing's next, got to do a clean up so I can then drive the car into the shed. So I will be back. You'll see a car driving onto the hoist. Right, well, my wife went out with the kids, so this is what I've got here, and I did an absolute terrible job of lining that up. And it's got a flat battery. So there will be a video come out about this car next couple of weeks. I've just got to go through the old footage. I'll just see if that's on there enough for us to lift it up, and I'll see how it goes. It sounds like the exhaust is sitting on the hoist already, so check back in a sec. All right, as you can see, rubber blocks are under there. I need to raise this up the tiniest bit anyway, but we'll see what happens. You're going to see at the same time as me whether this works or epic fails. sec. Well, it feels pretty sturdy. So it's not too bad. Looking at this, I actually wish I set the hoist a little bit further forward, but what I might do in future is drive it as far forward until the back wheels touch the rear platform, and I'll put this out, this up, and then we'll jack the car up from here, which will then center it into the roof a bit more, but it's on there and it's up. And then as you can see, because it's not centered, I'm just hitting the exhaust on that left side, but there you go. Now I could still go up. Have a just see where the locks are. There we go. So that is about as high as I'd want to take this, but I'll go with tape measure and let's see how high this is. Well, that's, you know, 12.70 off the ground. So that's enough that I can build a chair or something to be able to wheel around under this car and get to everything. I'm pretty happy with that. There we go. All right, leave this one here. As you can see, it works. Then I'll you'll see a video on this lovely 350Z. This is the project that I've moved out of the way of, or said I hadn't told you about yet. This is what I worked on in the downtime. Got to a point where I was getting a bit too frustrated with work, so my lovely wife had the idea that I needed to go back to cars. So I bought this. It was crashed, done some work to it, built the front end and stuff. But I'll go through all my old videos because I did try to log some of it, and I'll upload that. But shed's got a hoist, should come in handy for future builds as well as this one. Now the only other thing I've got to work out is to put some, I might put a winch in the shed next, just to try and drag dead cars in here by myself. So see how it goes. I'll show you it going down, so if I hit the roof we both see it together. And that's the end of this video. Cheers for watching. If you want one of these hoists, hit up AAQ. They're not bad. Like I said, the sort of hardest thing was just fidgeting around with the manual valves, but I guess if you've got a flatter concrete floor than what I do or something, maybe it'll bleed up. Some people, when they bleed it up the first time, just going up and down, it automatically levels itself out. I did it 3 or 4 times and it didn't do it for me, but not bad considering I was going to get a tough lift, but the freight on getting a tough lift unit to Darwin was absolutely ridiculous. So I ended up making this one a couple of grand cheaper, which is just crazy when it's realistically just freight, but that's what you get for living in Darwin. So let's see if this hits the roof on the way down, and then I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. All right, I couldn't leave it there. I centered it up a bit more, so you can see I can access everything under the car, minus the rear, don't know what you'd call it, there's a rear brace there right at the back of the car, so I couldn't unbolt that, but absolutely everything else is accessible and I can work on it. Also, just wanted to say a big thanks to my mate Max for coming around, and he drilled all the holes for the dynobolts in the hoist. So he knows my wrists don't like that with carpal tunnel, but always does me solid, comes around. So we got it done in pretty quick timing actually, other than having to go to Bunnings twice because, you know, out of all the sets of sockets we had, didn't have a 26mm for the dynobolts, and then didn't have a 16 or 18mm SDS drill bit for the dynobolts to go into the ground, but not too bad. Also forgot to say, I did run the tracks to cover the hoses other than the 90 to go to the box. I'm just going to leave it for now because when you go up and down the hoses move slightly, so just want to make sure they're 100% settled before I finish that off.